Hello everyone, my name is Elite Trainer Kenway and today is DLC Day. Well, officially tomorrow is DLC Day, but since it has a worldwide release, it'll release in my area tonight, so today is DLC Day. The second half of the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC, known as the Indigo Disk, is finally almost here. And our friend Cayla's Capsule had an amazing idea. Yesterday, Cayla posted to her Twitter a custom-made bingo card featuring different predictions that she made for the Indigo Disk. She invited other trainers to fill in their own bingo cards for the DLC as well. So I did exactly that, and it was fairly garbage. Some of the ideas I put on my card were terrible. For crying out loud, I had the phrase Kieran becomes evil listed twice on there for some reason. So after realizing that Cayla made her board into its own video, I had the totally original idea to do the same thing. So without further ado, here are 24 predictions for the Indigo Disk, laid out in bingo card format. For my first prediction, I think Kieran is going to sacrifice himself. Whatever is happening in the Indigo Disk, I think Kieran is going to be riddled with some sort of guilt and put himself in harm's way to save everyone else. Looking at the faces Carmine and Kieran are making at the end of the latest trailer, it totally looks like Kieran is heading towards something dangerous with an expression of guilt and/or sadness, while Carmine is looking on helplessly. Whatever catastrophe is going on in Blueberry Academy or in Area Zero is going to be caused by Briar. This one was totally stolen from Cayla's video, so as soon as you get finished with this video, go watch hers. It'll be in the description below. Whether it's intentional or accidental, I believe Briar will kick off the catastrophe in the Indigo Disk. So am I saying we're going to see Kieran die? Of course not. Pokemon does have some deaths in their games, but it's very few and far between. So for our third prediction, I think Terapagos is going to save Kieran at the last minute. If I recall correctly, we see Terapagos save Liko in the anime using its powers. And we see both in the anime and the trailer that Terapagos has some sort of shield it can create. So my thinking is that Briar will trigger something awful, Kieran will sacrifice himself to stop it, but Terapagos will save him at the last second. This would also in a way bring Kieran's story full circle, since Ogre Pond, the box art for the tail mask, represents the start of Kieran's downward spiral. Terapagos, the box art for the Indigo Disk, could represent Kieran's redemption. Speaking of the tail mask, I predict that Dokotaro will be revealed as the one controlling the Lowell 3, causing them to wreak havoc in Kitakami. Dokotaro is the name given to the Pokemon that was hinted at during the tail mask. My next prediction goes in the other direction. Given that so many elements of the legend of the Lowell 3 turned out not to be true, I predict that Dokotaro doesn't actually exist. Everyone is expecting Dokotaro to be the mythical Pokemon for Generation 9, but what if it's not? What if Dokotaro never existed? What if it was just part of the fake legend that was the Lowell 3? Obviously, we're not going to put that prediction on the same line with the others, so let's place it here instead. Now, we've only got 5 predictions done, so let's start moving a little faster. My next prediction is that Sada and Turo never died. We saw in the last trailer that we're going to journey further down into Area Zero, so what if that's where Arven's parents are? And if not, I predict that Arven will end up taking his mother and father's place as the Paldea Region's professor. Similarly to how Sonia took the reins from her grandmother as Professor of Galar, I predict that if Arven doesn't get reunited with his parents, he will further their work by becoming a professor himself. Next up, and this was hinted at earlier in the video, but I predict Kieran will become quote-unquote evil before he turns good again. Moving along, my next prediction is that Briar is going to use Kieran for her own goals. I don't think Briar is going to be evil per se, but I do think she's going to be doing something horrible, but for reasons she believes are good. I believe Briar is going to be a type of person who believes that the ends justify the means, and she ends up manipulating Kieran to further her own goals. Next one, and this is a bit of a cheat, but I predict that we will see Entei and Terrakion paradoxes when we return to Area Zero. Call it a hunch, but we saw paradoxes for Raikou, Suicune, Virizion, and Cobalion, so it's fair to assume we're going to see Paradox, Entei, and Terrakion as well. These next 2 predictions are closely related to one another. Call me crazy, but I'm still on Team Evil Gita. If Briar and Kieran doesn't end up being evil, then the plot twist is going to be that Gita was evil the whole time. Speaking of, if Gita does turn evil, I predict her replacement as top champion will go to Nemona. Nemona has been your mentor throughout your whole journey in Paldea, so it makes sense that she would step up to fill the role as top champion. Next prediction, I predict that Dokotaro will fuse with Terapagos. I'm not super attached to this one, but we have had fusions now in Generation 5 with Kyurem, Generation 7 with Necrozma, and Generation 8 with Calyrex. So I'm looking to see some fusion in Generation 9. I expect to see Dokotaro take full control of Terapagos. And if Dokotaro doesn't fuse with Terapagos, then it will most definitely fuse with Koraidon and Miraidon. Next up, similarly to how Kieran befriended Ogerpon in the Teal Mask, I predict that Carmen will befriend Terapagos in the Indigo Disk. Next one is my swing for the fences idea that Terapagos is an Ultra Beast. In Ultra Sun and Moon, we were introduced to Necrozma, who fell to Alola and dropped the Z crystals on its way down. And in Sword and Shield, we were introduced to Eternatus, who was the source of Dynamax phenomenon. Similarly, I believe that Terapagos is an Ultra Beast or an alien, and it brought the power of Terra Crystals to Earth when it landed. Right then, my next theory is that we will discover that Professor Clavel and Clive are actually the same person. I'm just kidding. My next prediction is that AZ will return. If time travel has been fully perfected by the end of the story, I could realistically see AZ coming to Paldea looking to stop himself from firing the ultimate weapon. On the topic of returning characters, the firing up of the time machine could also see the return of Ingo from Hisui. If Game Freak is going to make the Unova games sometime in the future, they're going to want to have Ingo back in the present day. Next up, I believe that the terrestrial tree we see in the final trailer for the Indigo Disk will somehow break. Whether it's Briar and Kieran or Dokutaro or Terapagos, I believe that the major event in the Indigo Disk will revolve around the tree itself breaking. Next one, so far no one else but me has been saying this, but I think we will have a second pair of DLC in 2024. And a hint for that DLC will be dropped at the very end of the Indigo Disk story. Moving on, I predict that Glastrier, Spectrier, and Kubfu will be able to be shiny hunted in the Indigo Disk. Solgaleo and Lunala were both shiny locked in Gen 7, only to have their shiny forms unlocked for Gen 8. In the recent trailer, made a point to show off Glastrier, Spectrier, and Kubfu, so I think they're going to be shiny huntable in the DLC. With everyone predicting that Dipplin will get an evolution because Eviolite works with Dipplin, I have to be contrary and predict that Dipplin won't evolve. Next one, I predict that while the original dragon from Unova won't be catchable, we will see a glimpse of it in the story or a silhouette of it somewhere in Blueberry. And my last prediction, because I'm trying to will this into existence, is that Gorochu will appear in Area 0 as a past Paradox of Raichu. And that's it. 24 theories for the Indigo Disk that drops later today. If you watch this all the way through, please go check out Cayla's Capsule Bingo video. Link is in the description below. I hope you guys have a fantastic time playing the DLC, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Peace.